Hi, I'm Colton with the Monmouth College Digital Ag Group, and in this video I'll be discussing our Arduino sensor package and how it works and how we developed it. So as you can see right here, this is a completed sensor package with a soldered circuit board which sits right on top of the Arduino. And the Arduino is adhered to this 3D printed drone mount, which we'll get into another video. And then below hangs about 20 feet of cord with sensors attached to it. So now we'll discuss the external sensors and devices that we use. So this red sensor right here is a SparkFun environmental combo. It measures pressure, humidity, temperature, volatile carbons, and most importantly CO2. This gray sensor is the AM2315 and it measures temperature and humidity. On the Arduino circuit board we have this GPS. We use that so that we know where exactly we are in the field when we're taking data. This card reader so that we can write data that we take to a text file. As you can see, the Arduino does not come with a card reader, so that's why we have to add one onto it. There's this screen, and this is pretty useful so that we know when the Arduino actually starts taking data, because the GPS does take some time to connect, and there's also a 20-minute delay when you first turn the Arduino on because the SparkFun sensor has to warm up. And then there's this level converter, which converts the communication levels from the lower voltage, 3.3 volts, up to the 5 volts for the Arduino. So before we made this soldered circuit board, we made a prototype, a mock-up, using the breadboard so that we could test everything and test our code and make sure that it works before we went ahead and put all the work in to make a soldered circuit board. So this is our circuit board, and I'll show you how it works. So as you can see, there's a lot of holes, and these holes are connected vertically. And what I mean by that is if you plug a wire in here and plug a wire, another wire in above it, these two wires are now connected. So if there's voltage running through this wire, then there's a voltage running through this wire. So now I'll show you how we plug in our screen. So I'll take our screen and I'll plug it in right here. And now we want to plug all these pins into the Arduino. So I'll take a wire and I'll plug in right above ground because the channels run vertically. So this wire is now plugged into ground on the screen. And then I'll plug it into ground on the Arduino. Now VCC is power, and this screen runs off of 5 volts. So I'll plug in VCC, and then I'll plug it on into 5 volts on the Arduino here. Next is SCL. And SCL and SDA are communication lines. That's how the Arduino essentially talks to the screen and tells it what to display. So I'll connect SCL on the Arduino here, and then SDA right here, and plug it in here. So I have some code uploaded to the Arduino, so the screen should turn on now if I plug it in, since everything's connected. And yes, there it is. And there's no sensors plugged in, so CO2 is 0. So now I'll show you how we plug in the GPS. The GPS is different because it runs off of 3.3 volts. And like I talked about this level converter earlier, we're going to have to use this to convert our SDA and SCL to 5 volts. So I'll plug them both right here. Now we can power the GPS straight from the Arduino. There's a 3.3 volt pin on the Arduino right there. And we can take that over here and plug it into the GPS. And same for ground. However, we don't have to plug ground straight into the Arduino because we already have a ground wire running over here. So we could just take it and plug it in here, but it's easier just to plug it in here for now on the Arduino. And now we have to plug in our SDA and our SCO. So SDA will take and we'll plug it into our level converter right here. So this is the low side. See LV, low level, low voltage. And then from our level converter, we go from the high side, and we can go ahead and plug in to our SDA and SCO over here. So this is SDA, so I'll plug it in right there. And you would do that the same for SCL2. And then also you have to plug in a 3.3 volt on your level converter and then a 5 volt up here. So for example, right here on LV, low voltage, we plug that into our 3.3 volt reference point. I'll just put this pin right there. So we have 3.3 volts connected, and we have to connect it to 5 volts as well on the high voltage side. Just like that. And then we also need a ground connection. Which again, I'll plug it in here. Oops, different wire. Plug in ground, and then there's a ground connection right here by the screen. Just like that. And then we have to put in ground on the other side too, unfortunately. So I'll put a ground right there. And these grounds can both be attached to the same ground, it doesn't matter. So I'll wire it just like that. So essentially the GPS would also be working now. I'll go ahead and show you how to connect the SCL2. So it's pretty much the same as SDA, but you don't want to plug it into the same route that we plugged SDA into. You want to plug it into a different level. So I'll come over here to this TX1. And this is an older level converter, by the way, so yours might say level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4 instead of TX and RX. But then I'd have this pin over here, which would then come over here and connect to SCL to convert the level. So now I'll show you how the SD card reader plugs into the Arduino. It's a little different. It doesn't use SD and SCL. So first of all, we have to plug in the power again. 5 volts. And we'll bring it up to our 5 volt connection up here. Just like that. Then we have to plug in the ground. I'll go ahead and just plug it up here because it's easier. There's another ground connection on the Arduino right there. And then we have this CS, DI, DO, and COK. And I have a schematic over here that shows where exactly they go. So CS goes to 53, DI goes to 51, DO goes to 50, and CLK goes to 52. So you would plug them in just like we've plugged in everything else. So I would take CS, for example, which let me look again. CS goes to 53, and I would take it over here and plug it right into 53 right there. I'll do that for every single one, and then it would be fully functioning, hopefully. So the only two sensors left to plug in are the SparkFun environmental combo and the AM2315. So the SparkFun runs off of 3.3 volts, so you'll have to plug in the SCL and the SDA into the level converter as well. And you can just plug them straight into this channel that we've already started here. But the AM2315 is a 5 volt, so you won't have to run it through that. You can just put it straight into the SCL and SDA right there. So as you can see, this breadboard is pretty messy with wires, but this is a very good way of testing your setup, making sure that everything works. But at some point, when you're ready to fly, you're going to want to solder a circuit board, something that's more reliable like this. And this is the same idea as the breadboard in the way that you connect everything, but you have to solder the wires to the pins and make your connections from there. As you can see, I have these pins here that plug straight into the Arduino. So you'll have to make connections to those pins from your boards as well. Or you can have a custom circuit board made by another company. You would have to make a schematic and a board and a software. I'm using Eagle, and I have made a schematic and a board, but we have not had any boards manufactured yet. So I'll try to leave a link to all these different parts and sensors in the description below. Like I said, we'll have another video about 3D prints, and then we'll also post another video about software development for the Arduino and how you program the Arduino. But for this video, that is all. So thanks for watching.